If you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? Yo. His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom's spaghetti, he's nervous, but on the surface he looks calm and ready to drop bombs. But he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes so loud, he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's choking how? Everybody's choking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, loud. Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes gravity. Choke. He's so mad, but he won't give up. Daddies, he know he won't have it. He knows his whole back to these ropes. It don't matter, he's dope. He knows that, but he's broke. He's so stagnant, he knows when he goes back to this mobile home, that's when it's back to the lab again, yo. This old rhapsody better go back to this moment and hope it don't pass him.
Listen, we can talk about the flag, but let's talk about Wait.
And good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media, live, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You know the drill. Like, retweet, share. If you're watching this video on YouTube, do us a favor, make sure you like that video and click the subscribe button. We greatly appreciate your support in doing that. It's also the best place to get involved with the show, comments, thoughts, concerns on this jam-packed Overreaction Monday, because we are going to overreact a lot today to the devastating, heartbreaking news of Bryce Harper breaking his thumb, going down on Saturday night. And, you know, I just got back from a wedding. I'm watching the Phillies game, and man, I just shot. I was ready to fall asleep, and I just God, I just cussing every word in the book when I saw it. Woke my dogs up. I woke Melissa up. They were sleeping on the couch. I mean, I was just so frustrated. So we're going to overreact to that a lot today, guys. A lot of overreacting there. But we're also going to talk about how this Phillies team can continue to win and continue their march towards the playoffs and whatever they could do. And then I got another topic to discuss at the end of the show. I want to talk about other athletes in Philly and this same feeling with Bryce Harper going down. Talk Carson Wentz and the feelings in 2017 there. You know, obviously if Joe Embiid went down for a long part of time, you know, that would be devastating to the team in the city. And I want to bring up Jalen Hurts. And if he goes down, God forbid, this season, would we have this same kind of feeling as we do right now? So that's what we're going to talk about today. I am your host, Phil Stifle. Make sure you shoot me a follow at Bearded Knowledge, and my main man, Jason Voorhees, right here next to me at Mustang3651. Good morning, Jason. How was your weekend?
My weekend was, I worked obviously yesterday. So I was off Saturday, and most of my weekend went great. You know, I had off for Thursday, Friday, Saturday for my birthday, and then, of course, Saturday night.
Yeah, Saturday night just ruined
my whole weekend. When it happened, you know, obviously, initial reaction is like, season's over, and there goes the year, and, you know, what the hell? Like,
yeah, I mean, I can sense the sadness in your voice, because that's basically, you know, what. When you see Bryce Harper get hit in the hand, crumple to a heap of pain, you know, he's grabbing his hand, he's cussing and screaming, you know, instantly the catcher grabs him right away to check on him, and you got the catcher of the other team waving to the dugout to get help out right away. Honestly, first off, it looked like it hit him in the face. Like, the quick instant reaction, it's like, oh man, he got hit in the face again. And then you see the way the catcher reacted, and it's kind of like, damn. You know, like, we're just doing all this work to come back and make a great comeback after our awful start to our season. And then this happens. It's that whole theory that, you know, why can't we have nice things in Philly? And it's just, then you see Bryce Harper's reaction, cussing and screaming at the pitcher, Blake Snell. Then he obviously apologized, which was, you know, very man of him to be like, yo, my bad. Emotions got the best of me, whatnot there. But man, it's like, nice things can't happen in Philly. It's just such a brutal way to have your Saturday night end as a Phillies fan. If you were nice, if you're up late, 11, 12 o'clock at night on a Saturday watching this game, and that happens, it's just, it's brutal and heartbreaking right there. So the question is, what do we do? How can the Phillies sustain Bryce Harper being out a significant amount of time. And we're going to learn more today. Obviously, it's a broken thumb. He was put on the 10-day injured list yesterday. Mickey Moniak was called up. But we just went through this with Gene Segura a few weeks ago. And Gene Segura was was transferred to the 60-day DL because broken hand, broken thumb can be a long injury to recover from for a baseball player. So the question is, we'll learn more later today whether it's going to be a 3-4 week recovery period, 5-6 week recovery period, or going late into the season, and he might not be back till the end of the season, if at all. So the question is, Jason, how do we handle this situation? If you are Dave Dombrowski, if you are Rob Thompson, what are you doing in the immediate future and the big picture to combat losing, arguably, maybe contending for a back-to-back MVP, Bryce Harper?
Well, I mean, obviously, it's not going to be easy. I do have a comparison. I do look to a situation last season somewhat similar in that a team lost arguably their best player and still won the World Series. And that was the Atlanta Braves when they lost Ronald Acuna.
Right.
Who Ronald Acuna obviously isn't Bryce Harper, but he's like the younger version of Bryce Harper. Like basically the guy that, is looked at to carry the team. Now, of course, the Atlanta Braves also had Freddie Freeman. They had other players. But what the Braves did last year when they ended up going on that run and finally winning the World Series was no less than a miracle. And a lot of that had to do with their GM going out and making a series of trades at the deadline that actually basically put them over the top, because everybody that they got at the deadline helped their team in some way or another winning that World Series. Guys like they got I'm trying to think of the guy's name from Soler. They got
Jorge
Soler
yeah.
from I believe, I forget what team he was on last year when they traded for him, but they got a bunch of guys at the deadline. And, a lot of people weren't expecting the Braves to win the World Series. And they did. And they won it as a team. Now, yes, they had Freddie Freeman, but the Phillies, let's not be, negative here. The Phillies have other good players. Yeah. I mean, one could argue that a guy like Nick Castellanos was basically signed as an insurance policy, because if you don't get, obviously you don't have the Nick Castellanos that the normal Nick Castellanos right now. He's been struggling. Right. Now, yesterday,
back in the DH role,
he's starting to turn the corner. He went 4 for 5 yesterday. I know that's 4 for 5.
Four singles though. So you're bringing up Castellanos, and the point I want to bring up is the fact that you take Bryce Harper's salary off this team, we still have a $200 million payroll on this team. There are still players getting paid big dollars to be on this team. That is Nick Castellanos. That is Kyle Schwarber. That is JT Realmuto. That is Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola. There's a lot of guys getting paid big money to be stars on this team. It's time for those guys to step it up. It's time for those guys to, we can't have a 240 hitting Nick Castellanos. And I'm glad you brought him up, because I think the Bryce Harper injury benefits him the most, because now you can slot him in the DH role. You can slot him semi-regularly, if not every day, in the DH role. And obviously, in my opinion, that's what he was brought here to do, to be the DH 65-70% of the time, play left field occasionally to give Schwarber a blow, play right field occasionally to give Harper a blow in the field. And playing every single day in right field, you look at it at the beginning of the season before Harper hurt his arm, Castellanos was hitting the ball pretty damn well. And then Harper has to play the DH role every day. Castellanos starts playing right field, laboring out there every single day. Not saying he played bad out in right field. He didn't play great. But ever since he was the everyday right fielder, you saw those numbers start to steadily decline. Now being able to put him in the DH spot, and whether you have Vierling and Moniak or Vierling and Herrera or whoever in the outfield, I'd rather accept a Vierling or a Double in right field if you get 330 home run Nick Castellanos back in that DH spot. So I think out of anybody, Castellanos can benefit, but also Castellanos has to be the one to step up to fill that offensive void big time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not buying the DH excuse as much as you are.
Okay.
I think the DH wasn't around for, previously. This is the first time the DH has been around. So I don't buy that. When Nick Castellanos has played the field regularly his whole career.
Absolutely.
So it's not an excuse to me. And if he did come here with that mentality that's why he signed here to be a DH.
Okay. No. I'm not saying that he signed here to be a DH and he's frustrated or anything like that. I'm just saying, let's be honest. I mean, he has played right field before, but it's been a while. He was mostly a left fielder last year. And the difference between playing left field and right field is fairly significant, in my opinion. It's a lot more work running around out there. And I don't know. It's definitely a tougher position to play. And he's putting it. It's kind of like I'm trying to come up with a thought, and this is an awful comparison, but I'm going to kind of use it anyway. It's like Scott Kingery. Scott Kingery is being bounced all these positions he wasn't used to, so he started struggling with the at bat because he was spending so much time trying to figure out how to play all these different positions. Nick Castellanos is trying to get better in right field, putting in a lot of effort out there, and it's definitely affecting his approach at the plate.
I mean, if there's any player in this lineup that you look at who previously wasn't a so-called streaky hitter besides Bryce Harper, it was Castellanos, because Castellanos is probably the model of consistency that you had. Mm-hmm. This kind of slump for him is the first time ever being in this dreadful of a slump. Mm-hmm. He's never been in this kind of a long-term situation. I think a lot of it is, trying to live up to the contract, coming here with, high expectations. But I also think that, part of it is, most of it's mental. Mm-hmm. It's not like he forgot how to hit a baseball because, right. Let's face it, that was his MO. Like when he came here, when he said, that's why I was signed here to hit baseballs. Yeah. I didn't go to college. So I'm not really worried to the point where I think this Castellanos season was over. And I think a lot of people, if there's anything, Monday overreaction, I think a lot of people have been overreacting about Nick Castellanos because, like I said, it's the first time ever. If this was something normal, I think people would be like, oh, well, this just happens. Like Schwarber, we knew Kyle Schwarber generally has been a slow starter. And we also know that Kyle Schwarber's best month ever is June. And he's just kind of written that script. I mean, he's following that script. I mean, he's having a June of all June. So, I mean, I think if you look at this Phillies team, you lose Bryce Harper. If your question is the season over? I think my initial reaction was yes, because Bryce Harper is that important of a player. But the more I thought about it and the more I kind of stewed on it and the more I kind of hemmed and hawed and thought about it overnight and then yesterday all day thinking about it at work, I have a little bit different of an opinion. I think this team can still be successful. They have guys that are capable of, not only putting up numbers, because let's face it, it's not all about numbers, but you're going to have somebody start putting up some numbers because you're taking out the reigning MVP player. Yeah, exactly. MVP3. I mean,
may win it again. May have been on pace to win it again this year.
Yeah. I do think that it's definitely an opportunity for Castellanos to kind of like reset here and say, you know what? I know I was brought here to help this team, and now is like, better late than never. Like now's the time. Like, and I think more importantly, I'm going to look at Dave Dombrowski and what he's going to do to kind of supplement the team moving forward, like whether he makes a series of moves. Because like I said, that's why I brought up that Atlanta Braves thing.
Yeah, I mean, the Atlanta Braves made a lot of minor moves to kind of, that kept bringing in platoon. do you want Dombrowski like to change his foot at this point? Like before Harper went down, we're talking, all right, we need bullpen help. Maybe a center fielder. We need this, and this. Maybe another starting pitcher. But then you lose Harper. Does David Dombrowski got to go that Braves route and just try to find? I've seen Tommy Pham's name. I've seen Benintendi or Benintendi or whatever his name is.
Benintendi.
Yeah, Benintendi. I've seen his name. Both guys on expiring deals, end of a contract, could be platoon type guys right now. Or do you go out, and, try to make a bold move at this point? Look, some people like Rojas in the minor league system to be the center fielder next year. You got Mickey Moniak now who could be playing every day, or do you go out, like I say, and go get a true legit center fielder for the next, go find somebody, and whether you got to give them some prospects or some players, whatever it may be, go get a legit center fielder that could bat leadoff or whatever. Maybe you move Schwarber down into the 3 or 4 hole now to balance out the loss of Harper. Do you make the big, bold move? Or do you stay the course, bring up your minor league guys, let them get the experience? Or do you go the Braves route and you go let's try to find 1 or 2 platoon guys that could fill that void? Because, quite frankly, at this point, I'm either staying the course and just fixing the bullpen and whatnot, which we're going to get into the bullpen because I know Adam brought it up earlier. The bullpen has been all of a sudden pitching, lights out lately. Or I'm just going the platoon. I'm not going to go with a big, bold move right now if I'm the Phillies.
Well, in my opinion, you have to at least entertain the thought. You have to look at your options. I'm not saying you're going to do it, but the problem that we're in is that the Phillies don't have a ton of A-level prospects to give up.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go and make a bold move, it's going to be hard anyway because you don't have those guys that are coveted around the league. The only guys that you have, you don't want to trade. Like, obviously, if you're willing to give up Bryson Stott, you could probably get something nice. But I'm not giving up Bryson Stott. And
right.
Same thing with Alec Boehm. I mean, these are 2 guys that, to me, are a part of this. Not only now, they're the future of the Phillies. I mean, they're your guys that you have that are actually contributing to the team and doing so well. I think I'm kind of with you in that, but more so from a standpoint that I don't think we have anybody to do that. If we had a ton of prospects, I'd be all about it at this point. I'd be like, let's go out and try to get a center fielder.
And let's address Freddie's comment here. Yeah, stay the course, see how the team reacts, and then adjust as necessary. I mean, I think we talked about it before we went live on the air, Jason. How the team reacts is very important. And look, yesterday, we just got done 11-game road trip yesterday. We went 7-4 in it. So we were 6-4 going into yesterday's game after losing our MVP, the league MVP. It could have been a super easy moment for the Phillies to just pack their bags early and basically just have it as a scheduled loss kind of thing. Just pack it in, whatever kind of attitude yesterday. And this team reacted yesterday down. What were they down? I'm bringing it back up.
5-2.
They were down 5-2. Going into the 5th inning, they scored 1 run to get to 5-3. They could have easily packed their bags and been like, all right, this game's over. Kyle Gibson only went 2 2/3. Easy game to pack it in. But this team reacted the complete opposite. They didn't give up. This team reacted in a completely, if this was Joe Girardi's team still, they lose that game. They lose Saturday's game and yesterday's game. But the attitude of this team actually kind of reacted in a different way. And let's pick our star up. He's been carrying us. Let's pick him up while he's down, at least in that short term. And I love that reaction from the team. If anything, it motivated them to an extent. So I kind of agree with Freddie where you stay the course and you don't make any move for at least the next 7 to 10 days. You start making phone calls maybe to have that plan in place. But you make no moves in the next 7, 8, 10 days, and you just see. You see what you got. You see what these players are capable of. Mickey Moniak, make sure he's starting every single day, whether it's left or center field or right field. You just put him out there. You rotate Odubel and Veerling still in the other outfield position. And you see what this team is capable of.
Well, I mean, I have to agree with you. I think I'm looking at the injury and I'm saying, okay, first and foremost, let's find out how
Yeah.
bad is it? What
Yeah.
is the length of time that Harper's going to be out for the thumb?
Mhm.
If we're talking 6, 8, 10 weeks that he's out, I have to take a hard look at where he's at, where we're at as a team, and I have to make that decision.
Mhm.
Because if you're going to shut Bryce Harper down, which I think is a possibility and should be a possibility if he's out long term with the thumb,
Mhm.
you have to look towards his future and the fact that the UCL isn't getting better. He's going to have that surgery. You have to ask yourself, do you want to go in the next year and have a problem with possibly not having Harper available in the beginning of next year? 2, you got to have all of these factors in play if you're Dave Dombrowski. And I think it's going to be a little tough because if you come to that conclusion that, okay, well, Harper's out 10 weeks, let's say it's 10 weeks.
Mhm.
We're almost, we're at the end of June. So Friday
Yeah.
will be.
I'm trying to use my fingers to count 10 weeks.
Well, Friday will be July. So you're
Yeah.
talking, I believe July has 5 weeks. And I think August has 4 weeks. So
You're looking at mid-September.
September. Yeah, exactly. So
And that's if there's no setbacks in a recovery process or
correct.
or in any rehab assignment or anything else like that.
So I guess that's where I'm at. I'm looking at it as a fan perspective. Do I want Harper to even risk going through all that rehab and then re-injuring something, and then now we're here October, we're not making the playoffs, and now he has to have the surgery anyway. So I'm looking at all of this.
Yeah, no, I know.
But I guess I'm hoping as a fan that it's only like maybe 2-3 weeks and he can come back. Like that it's not as bad of a fracture as maybe Gene Segura had, which obviously Gene Segura was his arm.
Gene Segura went on the 10-day IL, and then after a couple days and extra testing, got transferred to the 60-day DL, which obviously showed that it was a much more serious break than originally. I mean, I don't think you're going to get him back in 2 weeks, Bryce Harper, but I can see it depending on how the imaging goes and the testing goes today and tomorrow. There could be a scenario where he's back in 4 weeks. Which, if that's the case, then I'm not shutting him down for the season. But I get what you're saying, that if it's going to be a long-term process, and it's a scary thought. When you shut somebody down for the year, especially when, I mean, on paper, they're only a game out of the last wild card spot at this point. 1 or 1.5 games out of the last wild card spot at this point. So they are basically a playoff contending team at this point. At what point do you shut your guy down for the season? And that's a decision I wouldn't want to have to make. I'll be honest with you, because that's a tough decision to have to make.
Well, I guess you could say there's so many ways that this could go, and I guess you could also say, well, let's not necessarily shut him down. Let's let him rehab, but let's take it the slow approach and just say, if he does come back, he comes back in September. Then we have him back. But in the meantime, moving forward, we have to move forward with the mentality that he's not coming back. Because you have to look at this from how the players, are going to respond to this and how they're going to think. Because if a lot of it's mental, because if they're going to think, oh, well, we can just coast and Bryce Harper, the savior, is going to come back, then it's going to be a problem. Look, Absolutely. They have to focus at the point where they think to themselves, Bryce Harper is not coming back. We have to kind of step up and we have to perform better than what we've done. Guys like Rhys Hoskins. Listen, Rhys Hoskins shows flashes every 2 weeks. Like, he's always there.
Then he gets back into a slump, just
exactly.
like
But
he had a hot stretch there.
We need the consistency, and we need JT to keep doing what he's been doing the last couple of days. We need Castellanos to turn the corner. We need Schwarber to have enough. We need Schwarber to have a July Schwarber, just like June. We need all of this.
Can I? You bring up JT, and I want to make a comment about JT because at this point, you lose Bryce Harper. You got to put the hottest hitters in the lineup regularly. So Matt Vierling actually deserves to. Like I kept saying, Mickey Moniak should be starting every day. But let's be honest, Matt Vierling probably should be starting just about every day as well. Matt Vierling is playing really damn well. So do you play Matt Vierling every day and then you platoon Odubel and Mickey Moniak? I don't know how you handle that. But losing your DH, I keep talking about Nick Castellanos playing the DH every single day. Is there a scenario in your mind? Because let's be honest, JT has been used and abused a lot this year. He's played more innings behind the plate than anybody else. Garrett Stubbs is proving to be a viable backup catcher. Now, I'm not saying starting Garrett Stubbs every single day or anything like that. But right now, Garrett Stubbs is playing 1 out of every 6 to 8 games. Because JT's playing basically 6 out of every 7 out of every 8 games. Do you start Garrett Stubbs twice a week now instead of once a week? And then you could just put JT. So 2 days a week, you have JT as your DH. You put Castellanos in right field. The other 5 days a week, you put Castellanos in the DH, and you just rotate your outfielders. Is there a point in your mind that you think Garrett Stubbs has earned an extra game or so a week? I mean, he's hitting over 300.
They rotate. They rotate. They interviewed Rob Thompson before the game, and he basically already came out and said that there's going to be a rotation at DH.
Okay.
So it's not going to just be Castellanos. It's going to be a mixture of Castellanos, Schwarber, even might get a couple days, JT. It's going to be a mixture.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be
each day or two. You can put Castellanos in left field. That's where he's more.
It's going to be what I think. I think that was the original plan before Harper got hurt.
Yeah.
Harper getting hurt the first time, obviously he could only hit. So that's why he ended up being the de facto DH. But the original plan when they signed all these guys and they looked at what they had, we talked about it on our first show, our preview show. The original plan was to have a mixture at, JT this day, Schwarber that day. So you got to think that.
A couple extra breaks behind. He's taken a beating behind home plate this year. And like I said, played the most innings behind the plate as any catcher in baseball. I say that the fielding is affecting Castellanos. Maybe the abuse that Joe Girardi put him through because he was trying to salvage his job, putting him out there. He was playing night games and starting Sunday afternoon games. I mean, that's just not what you do to your catcher. Even though JT's paid to be a elite everyday catcher, you still don't play your catcher that much behind home plate. And I don't want to discount the fact that maybe keeping his bat in the lineup, but getting him 2 days off a week, hell, maybe occasionally even 3 days off a week, could help him big picture this year offensively. At least get him back in, back into his sweet swing that he's used to having.
I mean, once again, you're killing it today. I agree, and I think that myself included, a lot of people are hard on JT, and I think sometimes, we you'll make comments like, "Oh, he's overrated," or I'll say, JT's not really an upper echelon catcher, but you have to look at the catcher position as 2 parts. There's the hitting part, but there's also the part of defensively what he does behind the plate and also what he does for this pitching staff. And I got to be honest with you, if you take that whole conglomerate and you put it together, I don't think you can argue that JT isn't the best catcher in baseball because he is. I saw that play that he made Saturday night when he threw the guy out. Like, dude, he still has elite defensive tools. And even though he might not be performing up to par right now offensively, I think that he will turn that corner. But I don't think you can quantify the importance of what he does with the starting pitching. And this Phillies starting pitching has been one of their strengths this year. I mean, I know Gibson had a kind of clunker yesterday, and Eflin's had a clunker here and there. But overall, this pitching staff, the starting pitching, has been, I got to be honest, I've been surprised because I did not expect their starting pitching to be this bad. In fact, I thought starting pitching was their biggest issue.
It still is. Sorry, Jason, I'm going to disagree. It's still their biggest issue. I mean, Kyle Gibson's got a 4.5 ERA. That is right on par with what he is. Zach Eflin's knee. I mean, he's hurt again. He's out there laboring every. I mean, I know he went 5 innings on Friday or Saturday night, but dude, he did not look good out there. You know, he got out of it with what, two runs or whatever. He didn't. You cannot trust him. Ranger Suarez finally went 7 innings plus the other night, but come on, you still can't. Right now, you've got 3 number 5 starters, one who is injured and pitching injured right now. You just got 2 great guys. Aaron Nola is exceeding my expectations this year, and Zach Wheeler is still a Cy Young level pitcher every single time he goes out there. But you got a 1-2, you got a 1A and a 1B, and then you got a 5A, a 5B, and a 5C. Starting pitching, in my opinion, is still, even with Harper going down, number 1 on my checklist of issues. Because I can never see a game when I see the starting pitcher and see Eflin, Suarez, or Gibson and be like, we got this game. I never have that confident feeling going into a game. I just don't. There's no way you can have confidence when you know the inconsistencies that those guys not are capable of, but put forth every single time they're out there. You might get Zach Eflin throwing, when he's healthy, 7 shutout innings, but you might also get him throwing 7 innings and giving up 7 runs. It's just, there's way too much inconsistency there.
I have to disagree with you on Gibson. I think Kyle Gibson is capable of being a number 3. I think yesterday was an aberration. Like, I think yesterday was not the norm for Kyle Gibson. And Kyle Gibson, when he's at his best, it's when he's getting, locating his pitches. And for some reason, I don't know what it was, but yesterday was just one of those days. Like, pitchers have clunkers. I mean, Zach Wheeler's had clunkers. Elite guys have clunkers. Like, it happens. Kyle Gibson, if you're expecting Kyle Gibson to be a starting pitching number 1 or 2, then you're fooling yourself. But he's definitely.
Let's go. So I got his entire. He's played 5, 10. He's had 15 starts this year. Let's go through it. First, month by month. First month of the year, Kyle Gibson had 2.93 ERA through the month of May or April. In the month of May, he pitched to a 4.78 ERA. So far in the month of June, which he's basically done now in June, because I don't think he'll start again in this month. He's got a 5.81 ERA in the month of June. Let's just go backwards, starting with Sunday. He's got in the month of June, he went 5 runs, 3 runs, 1 run, 3 runs, 5 runs. He gave up 17 runs in the month of June. He gave 4 home runs in that month. Go back to May when he was a little bit better. He went 2.22, 6.2. So again, some consistency, and then boom, let's drop a 6 spot on the board. May, or like I said, June, April was the best part.
I agree.
But you look at, so all right, so maybe he's not as good as April when he pitched to a 2.93 ERA. But maybe he's not as bad as the near 6 ERA in June. But again, the month of May, which is more like him, to pitch almost to a 4.8 ERA in the month of May, that's what he is. You know what 4.8 ERA is, basically, Jason? That's what Jake Arrieta was with his Phillies time. He was a 4.8, 4.9 ERA guy. So basically, we bashed Jake Arrieta for how bad he was for so long. But Kyle Gibson is just as inconsistent. It's just like we wouldn't give Vince Velasquez a long leash as fan base, but we're willing to give his fan base Zach Eflin a long leash. We got to find some common ground there. Kyle Gibson, at the end of the season, I said it before, I'll say it again, will end the season somewhere around 4.8 and a 5 ERA. And that's just not good enough because he's going to throw that 7-inning shutout game. But then he's going to have 3 straight games of 5 runs given up. It's just not good enough if you want to make the playoffs. It's not good enough.
I mean, like I said, we could sit here and argue about Kyle Gibson and the semantics of whether he's a, frontline starter. I mean, listen.
Like I said, if he was our number 5 starter, I'd be okay with him. But
Phil,
right now,
I think we both agree. I mean, I'm not sitting here and saying that they don't need a better starting pitcher. I agree. I'm saying that their starting pitching as a whole, the whole unit, has been a surprise. It's been better than what I thought. That was what I was saying.
But the top 2 guys are pitching so damn well.
And that's okay.
That's why it makes.
That's fine, Phil. Because, to me,
one more guy.
Can I ask you a question? In the playoffs, how many guys usually pitch?
Well, in the first round, 2 to 3, but in the second and third round, you need 3 to 4 guys that can pitch. So right now you got Wheeler, Nola, 1-2.
You can go 3 guys in a.
All right, so who are you going to feel confident in as in a game 3? I'm not going to feel confident in any of the other three guys.
You don't know that because the season still has a lot left to play. Like I said, Kyle Gibson, I know that you're a guy that says, oh, he is what he is. But I've seen Kyle Gibson. You saw Kyle Gibson in June look like Zach Wheeler. I mean, Kyle Gibson in June was dominant.
No,
Kyle Gibson's capable of it.
I just told you, Kyle Gibson's got a 6 ERA.
I'm sorry, I say June. I meant April.
I was like, hold on a second. I just laid that out.
You know what I meant. You know what I meant.
I know, but now because we're arguing, I got to throw it out there against you there.
I know that we're arguing. I'm not arguing. I guess what I'm saying is we have a little bit different. We have a different level of where we're at with.
See, the thing is, like, Jason, you want to argue the exact theory on Kyle Gibson with Ranger Suarez? I would actually say, okay, I'll give you your chance to let it play out because Ranger Suarez is young. This is his first season as a full-time starter. But Kyle Gibson's been in baseball for 10 years now. Zach Eflin's been on the Phillies for 7 years now. After 1, 2, 3 years, okay, you're learning. But after years 4, 5, 6, you've got a track record. And at this point, we know what Kyle Gibson's track record is. He would not instill confidence in me starting game 3 of a playoff series.
I got to be honest with you, though, Phil. Not every team has
I know
5 starters like the Dodgers or the Mets. Guys in their 5th starter that could be 2nd starter. Not every team has that.
That's a fair point.
Okay, well, and that's where you got to pump the brakes and you got to say, well, okay, what do I want? You can only do so much. Like, he went out Dabrowski and he loaded up on offense, okay? But we all said that the pitching was still a question mark. We all agree on that. I think anybody would agree that the Phillies starting pitching, Sands, Nola, and Wheeler, is not upper echelon. I mean, but there's not many teams that have that because it's either, okay, well, we're going to go out and buy more guys. See, the teams that are able to do that have what's called a farm system, Phil, where they can bring up guys that are capable of doing that. I mean, I look at a guy like Mark Appel. I love the guy. He has a lot of heart. But even Mark Appel, like, he was out of the league. Like, he's 30 years old. He's not like a long-term envisioned prospect that's going to like light up this league. He's not. He is. The Phillies' biggest issue has been and will continue to be until they get it fixed, developing prospects and hitting on some of these picks and getting pitching should be their number one priority. I think
we're agreeing on this 100.
It's so much easier to work on an offense as far as signing free agents on offense. Pitching is a whole other animal. It's not easy to just fix. And the teams that are able to do it are those ones that have young farm systems. The Met, I know you hate when I talk about the Mets, but that's one thing that the Mets have always been good at. Even when the Mets are Metsing, the Mets always have.
Is that a real word? The Mets are Metsing.
Even when the Mets are Metsing, they always.
I want to coin that phrase there and make that a new hashtag, Metsing. I don't know what Aaron would think of that, but yeah, the Mets are Metsing. I like it.
You know what I'm saying.
I know what you mean. I love it. I love the phrase.
The fact of the matter is like, you have to have guys. We talk about the next man up. Like, when Carson Wentz went down, it was the next man up. Mm-hmm. Well, in baseball, it's not that easy because baseball, you don't have as big of a roster as football. So it's almost like, okay, if you don't have a guy on your team at the moment, you have to look at your farm team. Well, when you go from you lose Bryce Harper and you say my answer to bring up from the farm is Mickey Moniak, you almost have to chuckle because you're not. You could say next man up, but is it really next man up? Come on, be real.
It's a fair statement. I want to change the conversation a little bit. You brought up Carson Wentz a second ago.
I did it on purpose.
Yeah, I know. You helped segue me here a little bit. So the feeling with the loss of Bryce Harper right now, does it equate to the feeling that you had when Carson Wentz went down? And then the other part of the theory is there anyone else outside of Joel Embiid? Because obviously Joel Embiid is almost, in my mind, a step above Bryce Harper in importance on this team. Is there anybody else that you would feel this way? And it made me think, well, if Jalen Hurts goes down, would we feel this way about Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, like panic mode? Because that's what we're basically in. Overreaction Monday. We're in panic mode because we're losing Bryce Harper. When in reality, like I said at the beginning, we have a $200 million payroll outside of Bryce Harper. We should be able to tread water and make do. First off, the Carson Wentz. Did you feel this much panic? Did you feel worse? Did you feel about the same, less? How were you feeling? Because we weren't friends. We didn't even know each other in 2017. Like literally, when Carson Wentz went down, I thought it was the end of the world. I thought that season was done, finished, zilch. Because I know we all love Nick Foles, but Nick Foles is a career backup who had just two really good football games. It just happened to be the championship game against the Vikings and the Super Bowl against the Patriots. I felt the world crashing down, the sports world crashing down on me. I thought that was the worst. I actually felt worse then than I do right now about Bryce Harper. Maybe because it was the point of the season. It was so close to the end of the season. Our record was great. Right now, we're midway point of the baseball season, not even. We're at a point where we're only like a fringe playoff team. So I don't feel as awful right now as I did with Carson Wentz. So where were you compared to now with the Carson Wentz to the Bryce Harper situation?
I mean, I think it's a little bit different because you kind of just touched on it. It's a different part of the season. Like the Eagles were 11-2 when Carson Wentz went down. Like the Eagles were the favorites to not necessarily win the Super Bowl, but they were the best team in the NFC.
Yes, absolutely.
Carson Wentz was having an MVP year. Not that Bryce Harper's not, but the season's not even halfway over yet in baseball.
Right.
The Phillies have just kind of fought their way back from hell,
basically,
so to speak. I mean, so you have to put it in perspective that way. So when Carson Wentz went down, yeah, I mean, it was a gut punch above gut punches. I mean, I was like basically like right away. I said it. I said the season's over. Yeah. The second I saw Carson Wentz down, and when they announced Carson Wentz is whatever torn ACL, I was like, it's done. I had zero hope in Nick Foles. Zero hope. I don't care.
Honestly, Nick Foles' first game. What was the Cowboys game? The first game he started. The Raiders.
No,
he came out and put out clunker after clunker too in the end of the regular season there, and it was just like, yeah, this is not going to work in the playoffs. It's just not.
Yeah, I had zero hope, and then obviously, he had the postseason of all postseasons, his best part of and
even in the postseason, he only had two good games because he really didn't look good in the first game. The Falcons.
That's what you call a Cinderella story.
That's a Cinderella
story. What's the other word I'm looking for? That's lightning in a bottle. That doesn't happen every time.
That's the team picking up their superstar, in their sense, Carson Wentz, picking him up and saying, we got you. Next man up. We're a team. We got you. Problem is, in the Phillies situation, it's not like we just have to survive the last 2 weeks of the season and get into the playoffs and anything can happen in the playoffs. We still got half the season to play now, if not more. I don't even know how many games we've played so far this year. We're at 74 games. So we are not at the halfway point of the season yet.
Yeah, so
it's a lot of baseball left here.
Yeah, so your original question to me was, did I feel the same way? I felt absolutely worse when Carson Wentz got hurt. And I think for those reasons, because it was so close to the season, it was also in the NFL, the quarterback basically you go as far as your quarterback takes you. It's a quarterback-driven league. Like, regardless of the rest of the talent on the team, your quarterback is still your quarterback. I mean, I think you could make the argument that probably 96% of NFL teams, if they lose their starting quarterback, their season's pretty much over. I mean, it's that much of a drop-off.
I mean, you think about it. What was it, week 13 or 14 when Carson Wentz went down? Dick Foles only had to start a couple games in the regular season, then the playoffs. If that Carson Wentz same injury happens, say week 8 when they're 6-1 or whatever they were, or week 7, there's no way Nick Foles carries that team in the regular season to the point to get the top seed.
I think you can make that argument, and I know people have argued against me when I've said that,
because everybody sees the Super Bowl win, and BDN, which is like my least favorite nickname of all time. I know he just landed on the top 10 football nicknames of all time, Nick Foles, but I hate that nickname. Hate it. He wasn't that guy yet. He only got that reputation because he won those 2 games in the playoffs. That's it. He was a bad starting quarterback his entire career. Outside of his 1 year with Chip Kelly, he was a bad starting quarterback. He's one of the greatest backup quarterbacks of all time, but only one of the worst. Yeah, it's a totally different scenario if it happens in week 8.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people, I think, would agree with that. I mean, listen, like we talk about it to this day. That 2017 Eagles team was special, but like I said, it was lightning in a bottle. It was almost miraculous. Like, Nick Foles is a man of faith. I believe in that kind of stuff. I absolutely believe like that he was just driven, and that just basically put that team over the top. But honestly, I think across the NFL landscape, you look at any team loses their starting quarterback, they're going to have a very, very, very tough time winning a Super Bowl. Let me ask you, all those years that Tom Brady won Super Bowls, Tom Brady goes down in any of those years, does New England win those Super Bowls? I'd be willing to bet thousands and thousands of dollars that they wouldn't. I know you'll never know because you can't go
the 1 year he did go down, and you had Matt Castle come in, and Matt Castle actually played half decent, but not enough to even make the playoffs. So, which I think it's a great segue, because then we obviously know if Joel Embiid went down, the season would be over for the Sixers, instantly. Our hearts, at least our emotions, would just come crashing down, because we've experienced that multiple times with Joel Embiid already. Let's look at the Eagles this upcoming season. If Jalen Hurts were to go down, say, I'm trying to do the math at the 74 game mark, that would be about week 6 or 7 in the NFL. So Bryce Harper, how we're feeling right now. Say the Eagles week 7 are 3-3 or 4-2, and Jalen Hurts goes down. Is the season over for the Eagles? Would we have the same emotional crisis that we're going through right now, overreacting to what's going to happen to this Phillies team if the same thing happens to Jalen Hurts this year? Because I think it does.
I mean, I agree. I think honestly, Jalen Hurts, to me, I think the haters would say no.
Right. The haters would say,
I think the people that are totally disbelieving that Jalen Hurts is capable of leading this team or being anywhere near a number 1 quarterback in the league, they would have a field day, because they would be like, Gardner Minshew's got to take us to the bowl. You'd have all these, you'd have the Minshew mania coming out. Let's go. You know what I mean? Like, but if you want to be a realist, I mean, I know I would. I'd be very upset, first and foremost, because I think Jalen Hurts has a bright future. Secondly, I'd be pissed off because I'd have to deal with those clowns coming in my mentions and saying, Minshew mania. It would just be, it would be a charade and a spectacle. And it would be a sports media. Sports media would be in heaven.
Yeah, we'd have fun with it every day.
But I mean, honestly, do you think in your heart of hearts, I would know, I would be upset, and I would think to myself, I think the season's over. I mean, I don't think, listen, anything can happen. I mean, Minshew could be your Foles. Like, he could. But
yeah, but
I think Gardner Minshew a lot of times gets – the guy is a backup. He's a good guy to have on your team. I think he's probably one of the better backups in the NFL, which absolutely. I'm happy that
if he was to start just 2 games, I'd be okay with that. But if he had to start for 8 games and then go into the playoffs, that's a different story. I think it comes down to, and I talk about a lot with Jalen Hurts, and the reason why I like Jalen Hurts isn't because I think he's a great passer or great tools quarterback guy, but it's the intangibles, the leadership, the him in the huddle. Same thing with Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper is a leader of the Phillies. And to an extent, him going down, it's just like the initial spark of firing Joe Girardi to Rob Thompson lit a spark under this team. The initial spark of losing Bryce Harper might spark this team. We saw them come back and win Saturday night. They came back and win yesterday. I don't know if that spark can last long term, but I think a quarterback and the leadership ability is a little bit more important than probably any position in sports. The leadership factor that a quarterback brings to the table in the huddle and on the sideline. So I think it would almost be worse to lose Jalen Hurts midseason than it is right now to lose Bryce Harper midseason. Is that an overreaction to say that Hurts would be a big loss? Because it feels like an overreaction. It feels like coming out of my mouth because it's Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is still young, unproven, and Bryce Harper's a multi-time MVP. So I kind of feel like I'm overreacting saying that. But when you think about football versus baseball, quarterback versus right fielder, kind of feel like losing Jalen Hurts this year would be a bigger deal.
I mean, I just talked about it last year. The Braves lost Ronald Acuna, and they still won the World Series.
Yeah.
The San Diego Padres have been without Fernando Tatis all year, and they're in first place in the division. Like, I could go down the line of teams in baseball that lose star players and still well.
Look at the Mets have had no DeGrom and Scherzer basically all season, and they're still in first place in their division.
As I've mentioned, football is a different animal, and losing a quarterback is basically the difference between being successful and pretty much being done. Like I said, Nick Foles, I think if you had a Nick Foles situation, that it could happen maybe 1 in a million times. Like Nick Foles, not that Nick Foles is bad. He was a good athlete. He was more than capable backup. But to be able to do what he did, it was big. I don't want to say luck. It was a miracle. Dude, he had 2 of the best games ever, in a playoff game in the same season and got us a Super Bowl. It happened. It's not fake. It's not a fugazi. That actually happened. But can you honestly tell yourself that could happen again, day in and year out? No, because quarterback, as I said, you mentioned it. It's such a different animal on the pecking order of important positions in sports, not just in football, in sports.
Yeah.
The quarterback position may be. I think you can make the argument that the quarterback position in football is the most important position in sports, period. Even more important than a goalie in hockey, even more important than a goalie in soccer. The quarterback is your lifeblood of the team.
Yeah.
And it's just that much different, and it hits that much different when you have an injury at that position. It just does. And
I don't think there's any argument that it's the most
Randall Cunningham, I remember all the high expectations that I had. And I remember when Bryce Pop hit his knee. And that was me as a young kid just getting into football. And I was deflated.
Yeah. That's a great example right there. And that team stunk after he went down. Who started that year? Let's name some of it. Was that a year Bubby Brister came in?
I think maybe Pat Ryan, maybe Bubby Brister. I think
they
had a
Jim O'Brien. I don't know. Dude, there were some names that backed him up that year. And that was Bubby Brister he was a bad quarterback. Bubby Brister. Man, he was from Pittsburgh. He backed up what's his name? Who was the quarterback in Pittsburgh when he was the backup? Neil O'Donnell, I think it was.
It was.
And he stepped in and had a couple games. So the Eagles went and picked up Bubby Brister to be the fill-in for Randall Cunningham. Yeah, wow, that was bad. That was bad. Yeah, we got Freddie bringing up Bubby Brister as well. Bubby Brister. I think we nicknamed him Buck, I think. I'm not sure why. But for some reason, Buck Brister is stuck in my head for some reason. I don't know. But, man, the quarterback's just the lifeblood. And I'm not trying to negate the importance of losing Bryce Harper right here.
No,
it's a massive, massive loss. It really is. It's a devastating loss for a team that's just gotten their footing back on track. So, I mean, to close the show, this is an interesting thought that just popped in my head. Because I just mentioned, we had that initial spark when firing Joe Girardi and getting, Ken O'Brien. I for some reason, Jim O'Brien was a Sixers coach. I don't know why I said Jim O'Brien, Ken O'Brien. That's the guy I was thinking of. We had that initial spark when we lost Joe Girardi, fired him, brought in Rob Thompson. We're having an initial spark, it may seem, by winning Saturday night and then come from behind yesterday. How long can the loss of Harper really spark this team? Because losing a manager versus losing your number 3 hole hitter, it's kind of different and it hits differently. Can it sustain? Because we got a really, really, really tough 9-game stretch coming up here. We got 3 against the Braves. We got 3 against the Cardinals, who are quietly having a really good season. And then we got 3 more against the Nationals, who we just took 4 out of 5 of, 2 weeks ago. But 3 against the Braves right away to start. That's a tough start right there. That's a tough right out of the gate. You lose Harper, and you got to play 3 against your division rival, who are right above you in the standings. How long can that spark really last for a player versus a coach?
I mean, I think it all depends on Rob Thompson's ability to maintain composure, be calm, not your lead, because your manager is your leader, so to speak. But we've talked about it, how you also need leaders in the clubhouse. But Rob Thompson has shown an ability to kind of keep this team together, and they're obviously buying into what he's saying, and they obviously respect him. And I've mentioned it, and I'll mention it again. I say it probably every day. I probably say it once a day. That to me, the sign of a good manager is not what the team is doing when everything's going well. When it's not how the team is responding to him. It's how the team responds to the manager when the chips are down and when you're facing adversity. And how much bigger adversity can you face than losing Bryce Harper, who's the MVP of your team? Like, that's the biggest adversity right now. Yeah. And you saw it in a short glimpse, a 2-game span of how they just responded the past 2 games. Now, can that continue? I absolutely believe it can, because I think Rob Thompson has an ability to keep these players calm and not kind of get to the point where they're overreacting, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think they realize, like, okay, we're on a mission now. We just lost our best player. We all have to step up. And you saw it last night. Castellanos went 4 for 5. Now, yeah, it was 4 singles, but it's 4 singles, dude.
It's 4 base hits.
If Nick Castellanos has 4 hits the rest of the way out, he'll hit 350 by the end of the year, and we'll all be happy.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just –
yeah.
But in all joking aside, like, I think this team definitely has the horses to be able to overcome the loss of Bryce Harper. Will they make the playoffs without Bryce Harper, or will Bryce Harper come back? Obviously, we don't know all these answers because we got to figure out how bad the injury is. But right. my initial reaction was season over, but more I've thought about it, I definitely think this team, it's not over. And yeah. I think baseball is the perfect sport for – not perfect sport, but baseball is a sport where this happens a lot, where star players do get hurt, but teams still carry on and carry forward, because it is a team sport. Yes, it's individual, and there's individual accolades, and guys wanting to hit thresholds, and all that happens in baseball, just like it does in football and basketball. But I think you're definitely in a position where you can still move forward and maybe tweak it, maybe make some deadline deals. And the Braves proved you don't have to go out and get stars. It can be just role guys or guys that kind of fill those holes, because the Braves did it last year. So right. I
think we're going to cut it off there for the day, because we're up against the hour anyway. But we didn't even talk about the Padres series as a whole in the bullpen and their great performance. We didn't talk about much. We just hit it on it, this next 9-game stretch here. But so tomorrow, we're just going to pick this conversation, I think, up tomorrow on the show. We are going to be joined tomorrow by Jack Fritz, producer, great guy over at WIP, big Phillies guy. He's going to be joining us early in the show tomorrow. We're going to get his thoughts on the Bryce Harper situation in his portion of it. But we're also going to then after Jack Fritz leaves the show, continue the conversation. I think Dylan from DSM will be joining us for the second half of the show as well tomorrow. So we're going to continue this Phillies talk tomorrow. But we got to wrap it up for the day there. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Again, make sure you like this video and hit the subscribe button on YouTube. We'd greatly appreciate that. Share it out, retweet it out, follow us on all the other social media platforms as well. For Jason Voorhees at Mustang3651, I am Phil Stifle at Bearded Knowledge on Twitter. Again, make sure you follow us all. Everybody have a great Monday, and we will see you tomorrow. The world is not over, guys. Bryce Harper's out, but we can still ring the bell, guys.
Ring the bell.